This is your dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. Starting from humble beginnings, Nick has been beating the markets for over 2 decades. He shares with you his take on the profitable trades that will have you moving towards financial freedom in no time at all. To see an in-depth review of his track record and much more, go to inthemoneystocks.com. Welcome. This is your daily dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is 10/12/20, also known as Indigenous Peoples Day, the holiday formerly known as Columbus Day. This is show number 135. Well, Nick, hey, it's that special time of year again where we celebrate the founding or the stealing of America by the evil colonists, and we're celebrating in the markets now, right?
Yeah, we are celebrating in the markets now. We have a little rally on our hands today, but remember, it is, I don't even know if we're allowed to say it's Columbus Day anymore, but it is a holiday and volume trends are light. They're expected to be light today. We also have Thanksgiving Day in Canada, so happy Thanksgiving to all the Canadian listeners. So that makes for a pretty light market, and light volume usually favors upside. So today we're seeing that. We have the S&P 500 up about 1%, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up about 0.75%. But the big winner today is the NASDAQ Composite up 1.6%, 190-point gain there for the NASDAQ. So that's the big winner today. And markets seem to be cruising right along. We do have some sectors and industry groups that are a little bit on the weaker side, but overall, the bigger picture markets are holding up fine.
Hey, do you remember, Nick, when a 10, 15-point gain on the NASDAQ was like big news?
Yeah, I do remember those days. But nowadays, with the NASDAQ being, at or just off of new all-time highs, now it takes, a good 100-point, 150-point move. So now the NASDAQ's sitting up here at, 11,700. It's quite something. But yeah, I do remember those days where you got a 15-point gain in the NASDAQ. That was a big day.
Yeah, so my times have changed. Maybe it's what we would call market inflation, huh?
Yeah, I call it asset inflation, market inflation, and there's more of it coming. So
yeah, lots more, right?
Lots more
coming.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So this Friday, options expiration, or as they say north of the border, expiry.
That's right. This Friday is options expiration for the month of October. This is a period where you get a lot of whipsaw on the popular stocks, so always be aware of that. And I always tell my trading group to expect the unexpected. This is a week where you'll see stocks that are up sharply. They're vulnerable to pullbacks. So if you get a big rally in the first couple of days, don't be surprised to see some pullbacks there, or even stocks that are up going into today. Be careful, because if they're straight up for 5, 6, 7, 8 days, they're vulnerable to pullbacks during an options expiration week. Also, if you're going to take a trade during options ex, it's always good to go out and give yourself a couple of months. Do not trade the near-term expiration. I say that over and over every month, and I see so many people doing it, and they say, I thought this was going to move, because it was up yesterday, and then it's down 3-4% the next day, and your option is completely worthless. So just be careful there. Another thing is stocks that are beaten up and have sold off sharply recently, they often will get bounces this week. And that doesn't mean they're going to start a new trend, but a lot of times if there's a lot of put options bought on a particular stock looking for it to go lower, those stocks can get some nice upside moves. So be careful there. A lot of game playing this week. It's options X. We talk about this every month, and it's upon us once again. Basically, this is a week of institutional game playing.
And all the goings on that you see here in the market during options X, it kind of reminds me what bookies do when they manipulate the line to try to balance out their portfolio or balance out their risk and allow them to turn a profit, even if the betting patterns have been against them.
Yeah, it's very similar. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And again, people have to realize that a lot of traders or new traders or even investors have to realize that these institutions, they all have sophisticated computers, right? They read every single trade that goes through the market system. You can look and see where the small retail investor is placing his bets, because when he takes an options trade, it's going to be just a few contracts. When an institutional trader takes an options trade, it's going to be thousands of contracts. So there's a big contrast there between the two. And these sophisticated computers pick that up. They read the imbalances and they know where to pin the tail on the donkey into the end of the month. And, I've been saying it on, with you for years now about how this goes on. And it's fine. We know about it and we just try to benefit from it. But it does get a little bit tricky. So give yourself that time if you're going to trade options.
Yeah, it's not going to have any effect if you know about it. But the media doesn't even cover it anymore. Like we've said so many times, it's just another day at the races for them. Well, we've got earnings season kicking off tomorrow.
That's right. Earnings season starts tomorrow. JP Morgan Chase will be the first big bank to report before the opening bell. And this week we'll get a lot of financials. You'll get Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, a lot of financials generally the first week. Next week, though, we start to get a lot of popular tech names. We'll start to get a lot of other companies out there. Remember, trading stocks into earnings is a really, in my opinion, a gamble. So I like to get out of my equities ahead of the earnings announcement and then re-enter them after the earnings announcement. Now, sometimes the stock will fly higher once the earnings come out. Sometimes it'll sink. I can't tell you which way it'll go. That's why I don't really like to participate in that game of the earnings announcement. It's really just gambling. And for me as a trader, I want to be in things when the market tells me to be in, whether I'm right or wrong. At least I know I have the odds in my favor each and every time out. But trading into earnings, I don't see any edge as a trader. So I would be very, very careful, trading stocks into these earnings announcements.
Well, in the good old days when you maybe knew something about the earnings or suspected, you could trade into them. But so many times, even if the earnings are going to be good or they're bad, it's going to do the opposite of what you're really expecting it to do.
Yeah, well, the market always anticipates, and there's an old saying back in the 90s we used to use, the market anticipates the anticipators. So the market already has a lot of this stuff factored in. It kind of knows what's going to happen. There's so many times I see a lot of traders, I see this mistake being made. Stock will move up almost in parabolic fashion ahead of the earnings announcement. Then the announcement will be released and the stock gaps up and then it craps out. It goes down. And people will say, well, the earnings announcement was so good. They made so much money. They did so good. But what they don't realize is the market already factored that move into the equation already, and the stock had already shown its cards, so to speak, with the parabolic move. So I think traders now, should watch the charts and be very, very careful ahead of those earnings announcements. The markets are very efficient. They usually know what the announcement's going to be, so you do get a lot of sell the news type events.
Yeah, and especially with those those glowing stocks, the Amazons, the Apples, the Teslas, right? Really see.
Yeah, we call those the market darlings, or what we call them. And, they happen in those stocks. They happen in a lot of these, so-called hot cloud names, all these, big stocks like Shopify and the Trade Desk and all these hot cloud names. They can happen in anything. So, just be a little bit aware of that and be a little bit careful. And if you're going to trade options, like I say, always give yourself extra time on the clock. Go out a couple of months in expiration.
Couldn't agree with you more. Hey, so looking at gold and silver, and apologies for not doing the show on Friday. We had commitments and couldn't really go back on them, but we had a huge up day in gold and silver. We had silver on the spot breaking not just $24, but breaking $25 on a Friday. That's a major move, isn't it?
Yeah, both gold and silver were soaring. Silver in particular, it actually recaptured its 20-day moving average, which is pretty good. Now what silver's doing today is taking a little bit of a pause. If you look at the silver futures chart, it's basically flat today. It's actually positive by about 8 or 9 cents. So again, a little bit of a pause there. That's common after a big move. Now what you want to see is, does it make a little bit of consolidation pattern? If it does do that, then it's telling you it wants to go higher near term. Overall, when I look at the chart, I think we're going to do a little bit more backing and filling, and I really hope to see more of that. But silver's still my favorite precious metal long term, and I actually have no problem with everything that it's doing right now.
Hey, and what about copper? We haven't talked about it recently, but it's gone slightly under $3 a pound. I didn't look at Friday's price, and it's been sticking there, and that is a bullish formation, isn't it?
Yeah, copper's been consolidating really, really nicely. you put it in a little bit of a high in September, and that was at 312. Now it's at 306. And again, I just like to see it go sideways here, but I'm very bullish copper. I've been bullish copper. We've had some tremendous copper trades. In fact, last week we closed out an SCCO copper options play for another 24%. And, it seems to be the gift that keeps on giving if you can get into these copper stocks on pullbacks.
Yeah, gift that keeps on giving. I like that. And hey, finally, we don't really want to talk about the election, one side against the other. But as far as the impact it's having upon the market now, what are you seeing?
Well, you still got a lot of headline risk going forward, and this is not going to be your typical election. I've never seen anything quite like this, but I think right now the market has steadily climbed, and surprising to me because I was looking for a September sell-off. We got that September top all the way down to September 24th, which was the low, and then the markets have rebounded quite nicely. Now, we have not made new highs on the S&P, nor have we done it on the NASDAQ Composite, but we're getting up there again. So it's going to be all about the chart pattern, but the markets are holding up really, really well, which tells me that's going to be a positive for the president.
All right. And of course, he's kind of staked his whole presidency on a rising stock market when you get down to it.
It's kind of true. That's pretty much the president does use the stock market as a report card. So, he likes higher stock prices. But if you do have, say, a Joe Biden victory, I'm seeing people out there, including, I think, Goldman Sachs, saying, the market will continue to rise. I don't see that happening at all. I think a reversal of the Trump tax cuts really sends the market spiraling down. But that's my take on it. I'll obviously refine it as I can as I look at the charts when we get closer. But I don't see that being a positive for the markets if there's a Biden-Harris election.
I mean, a Harris administration?
Administration, excuse me.
Yeah,
yes.
The Harris administration, of course. Well, let's not get into the politics. Nobody really wants to hear it. Everybody has their view. Fine, have it. It'll be over with soon, and then maybe we can get back to normal, although I tend to doubt it, but we'll see. In any event, that's it for today. Make sure you go over to Nick's site, inthemoneystocks.com. Check out his trading record. Check out the Twitter feeds, at ITMS, at Nick Santiago01, at Kerry Lutz. Email us, kl@kerrylutz.com with your comments, and we'll answer a number of questions later in the week. In any event, Nick, happy Indigenous Peoples Day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good, Kerry.
And so concludes another episode of Daily Market Wisdom with Master Trader Nick Santiago. Be sure to go to his website, inthemoneystocks.com. Don't forget the Twitter feeds, at ITMS and at Nick Santiago01.